Hello, welcome to the zeroth of sorts episode of the companion guide to the Philosopher's Map. This series, short though it will be, is meant as a companion guide to the book that I wrote, The Philosopher's Map, about the framework of conceptual geometry. At multiple points, I will say stuff like, as said in the book, or as you'll find in the book, etc. This guide is made with the assumption that you either have the book and are viewing it as a companion, as it is meant, or you are viewing it and will possibly buy the book and be able to fulfill this series' purpose as a companion guide. If you're interested, links will be down below. This series is not a replacement for the book. If you want to learn more or know more, or you have any questions or are confused about anything, I suggest you go buy the book. It helps me a lot. It means a lot to me, and it's not very expensive. I like to keep all of my stuff affordable, and I will do that in the future. So just trust me, you're not going to be shocked at the price if you click the link down below. With that said, this episode will be about what conceptual geometry is to begin with. So, let's start by getting our workspace. And this is a good, thing to point out as well. That you should start whatever you're doing, if you're graphing or doing anything like that, with, setting out your workspace. That's not in the book, but it probably should have been. Anyway, what is conceptual geometry? Well, first off, I'll note that I don't write scripts. I kind of have general notes, so I might stick on a topic for quite a while, but I'll try to keep these videos short and on topic. Just FYI. So, the other question here is, what is metric or normal geometry? Well, we're not going to go into the entirety of what metric geometry is, though we will, cover parts of it. But here's the thing, is that let's say that we're looking at the most basic level of the differences between the two, right? So in metric geometry, these are called, let's tinyfy that a little bit, points and lines, right? Now, in conceptual geometry, and this will make more sense in a minute, these are vertices, vertex singular, and relations. My ear is getting itchy. Hold on. Sorry, folks. That's just, you know, I'm not gonna edit that out because why bother, right? It's it's just part of what it is. Okay, so it's just part of the video production process. It'll be fine. So there's one more thing that needs to be said, is that vertices are one name for them, but the more technically correct name, let me put that in parens, is data points. Now, you may be wondering why that's so specific and why you would use vertices instead of, or vertex instead of data points and data point. But the reason why is to avoid confusion with points, just like relations is to avoid confusion with lines. Now, the thing is that points and lines both exist in conceptual geometry, but they are not part of conceptual geometry in the same way they are in metric geometry. Okay? And we'll get into why in a second. So, metric or normal geometry and conceptual geometry are different in their sort of they're sort of different to avoid. I'm trying to avoid using words like teleology, but they're different in one very big way. Metric geometry is about discrete physical relations that can be mapped and measured using discrete units. Or more or less, it is about stuff that can be spatially mapped with discrete, specific, detailed units. Whereas conceptual geometry is about representation of information, concepts, frameworks, what have you, visually in a manner that allows mapping without discrete units. It is of topologies, objects, data, rather than spatial relations. Now, the book is going to be more specific about this and a little more, how to put it, um, correct in like in that I obviously have a lot more words about it in the book. So, but that's the general idea. If you're coming here and you're watching, oh, that's crop instead of canvas. But if you're coming here and you're watching, and you don't have the book, this is a general idea for you. And if you do have the book, just think of this as like an additional, take on it. So that said, the main components of conceptual geometry are oh, that's a little tiny. Objects, symbols, metasymbols, topology. Yeah, let me just make these singular. Object, symbol, metasymbol, topology, vertex, relation, flow, the steel rule, and like I said, I don't write scripts. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh yeah, isomorphism and modules. Now, there's these things called lenses, but we'll get into those after all of the above. Maybe, right? Now, the thing is, all of these. Whoa, Attack of the Blob. The thing is that all of these are related. And I mean, obviously, right? But what I mean by that is specifically the ones that are related that we will need to be going into first. Though I don't necessarily do that in the book, are these four. Now, from these four, you get a better understanding of these concepts. Okay? Just to sort of visualize what the actual relation, no pun intended, here is, and that's going to happen a lot. You have no idea how hard it was writing the book trying to avoid using the word relation colloquially to avoid confusion. But these will probably come third. Again, I don't write scripts for this, so I just have notes. But the thing is that these two, the steel rule and modules, make more sense after you understand the other two groups. Now, there's other stuff that's covered in the book, and obviously there's going to be much more detail in the book. So go buy the book if this interests you at any point. I will be doing a single video on each of these, um, perhaps in order. I'm not really sure yet. Again, I need to work out my notes, but the gist is that these are the basics that I'll be explaining, and then after that, I'll do you know, module demonstrations. Now, the thing about lenses, as we get to it, is that they are less about CG and more about what, or rather, how you operate it. If that doesn't make sense, I promise it will by the time we get to it. Okay? So with that, that's the basic version of what conceptual geometry is and what the difference is between it and metric or normal geometry. We will get into all of these as this series goes on, And I'll probably put out a video a week. I'm going to try for that at least. Right now, I'm reading and if, by the way, the video is essentially over, so if you don't care about this, just, whatever. No, no hurt feelings here. But right now, at the time of recording, I'm reading the Principia Mathematica. So I'm kind of uh, in anticipation of, like, basically, I'm reading it to help me with the creation of my next book, Gestaltic Reasoning. So I'm kind of busy with that, but I'll try to get at least one a week done, maybe even more than that. Um, but yeah, so there's the schedule. Once I'm done, I'll, as said, do module demonstrations. Probably, mostly just like uh, just showing off pipe lambda and maybe even Gale from in the book. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, again, please buy the book. So anyway, that's it for now.